Hello and welcome to Confessionals and Congressionals. My name is Lauren.
I'm Cassie.
And today we're talking The Valley, episode 9.
Yes, something about foreclosure.
Something about foreclosure.
Yeah, that's what it's titled.
Yeah, and it sure is. We hear a lot about Jax's money troubles. We get a little more info about the situation, the financial situation that he's left Brittany in, and it's not good. No, it's not good. We are going to upload this episode to YouTube. So from now on, if you listen to this podcast on Spotify, you can also find it on YouTube. I think it'll be up on YouTube the day before, so you can get it early, Wednesday evenings.
Love it.
And then Thursday mornings, this podcast will drop on Spotify. And we're also going to talk some pop culture updates. I also promised my TikToker following.
Ooh.
By the way, I had another TikTok go viral.
Oh my God, what was this one about?
I'm famous. I think it was just another Jax and Brittany another one. I can't remember which one of the ones that I've made lately it was, but in one of the ones that I did, that didn't go viral. But I was talking about Jax's podcast episode that he did with his sister. And so I told them that I would recap it fully here so that nobody has to give him the streams. So we'll do a little quick recap of that if you want to.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So we're going to do that. And then we'll get into the Valley recap. So first of all, this is a politics and pop culture podcast, and we would not be doing our responsibility if we didn't talk about the raids and protests that are going on in LA and nationwide about ICE, or what they're claiming to be ICE, but really just unmarked, masked people snatching people off the streets and taking them away from their families without due process and without any alleged crimes that they've committed. They're just taking them away. And this has been happening in LA. These ICE raids and San Diego, actually, I saw some video footage out of San Diego where people were trying to block them from taking people, and huge protests have broken out everywhere.
Yeah, I saw that they're calling in the National Guard to Texas.
Really?
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
Yeah, so we'll probably get way into this on our next podcast episode about the fact that they are calling in the National Guard and potentially other armed forces to manage peaceful protests, and what the message that the Republicans are trying to send is, and really the propaganda that this is fueling, because these protests, despite what you've seen online, have been largely peaceful. There are always going to be people during these times that take advantage of the chaos and create more chaos. But they've been largely peaceful. We've seen tons of video footage from people online who live there who are like, yeah, these are just huge protests going all over the place, but they're not violent. And the footage you've seen are all from really specific areas. So I had seen a TikTok this morning about how, so obviously I'm going to protest this weekend. There are protests everywhere this weekend. Check. We'll put links in the show notes. We would you should go protest this if you can. It's not just this. It's a No Kings protest. It's been planned for a long time. And it's in my city. It's happening on Saturday. It's going to be a very big protest. So leave your little kids at home, I would say. But if you can go, if you're an adult and you can go and you're not working and all of that, then I encourage y'all to go out and use your voices and remember that there's power in numbers, and that these protests have been working, and that our public outcries are the reasons why Kilmar is back home. And there's good that can happen from these things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I agree with everything you said. The other thing I would say is that for me, obviously, if you're undocumented, not a good idea to, go. And then the other side of that is I saw somebody mention this, or my husband told me about it. I don't remember if it was a TikToker or a politician, but I agreed. And that is, I don't know that bringing a Mexico flag is the right move. To me, I would just bring American flags, because this is about American ideals and what we stand for and what we believe in. And it's not to say that that's not important as well. As someone who is here because, my grandfather came here from Mexico, I'm certainly not saying that in any kind of disparaging way, but it's used as propaganda in a negative way.
So don't give them fuel.
Right.
For their propaganda. Make it clear that this is the American government that we are protesting. Yeah. So the reason that this was sort of on my mind this morning too, other than the fact that it's everywhere, is because I saw somebody post on TikTok about how, like, which people from Vanderpump in the Valley have spoken out about these protests and provided links for people and all of that kind of stuff, and which ones haven't. And I thought that was an interesting conversation, and I'll tell you who has.
Okay.
But first, I have a question, which is, do you think that influencers have an ethical responsibility or some sort of responsibility to post political content like this?
No. No. And I also think it very much depends on who you are and what you like. Just as an example, if Jax Taylor posted about it, I don't think it helps the cause, nor do I think you're in a moral place that you should have anything to say about anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really, really depends on who you are and what you stand for, that you've shown us from reality TV, from your whatever it is, so that, you know, what we know about you. And then I also think it's also equally as critical that you truly understand the issue.
Yeah.
Because it's just like we've talked before about the Israel-Palestine thing. There are people that choose sides on that without having any idea the history behind it, what different groups are trying to fight for or against. And you just kind of jump on the bandwagon of I'm pro-Israel or free Palestine. And it turns out, like, when you talk to these people, a lot of them don't really know much about it, other than they know which side they're supposed to be on. So,
right.
No, I don't think that you have a responsibility to, unless you are informed and care about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised. I really thought you were going to say they should.
Oh, no. I do side eye people if they're not saying something, especially people who I would expect would say something, or I guess would hope they would say something. There are influencers or celebrities that I just would hope that they're the kind of person who stays politically engaged and who would post about this kind of thing that's happening in their own city with their own community. But I don't think they have an obligation to. I also know that all of these people probably have private social media, and they might be posting there, and they might just not, like, they have a public image to maintain, and maybe that public image is apolitical or whatever. And, like, that's their right to have their public image be whatever it is, I guess.
Well, and I think, you're going to, like, it's just like us with this podcast, right? It's like we might be able to get more people to listen if we just talk about the Valley and don't let anybody know what our political leanings are, because we're alienating those that,
Totally.
Right? But, like, if you're the kind of person that's full MAGA and in agreement with all of this, I don't really want you here anyway. So
100. And that's just like where you and I are, is like in our life right now. It's a reflection of that. And I totally agree. We're purposely political.
Right.
It is part of this podcast. And the reason that we created it was because we have coexisting passions that are going to resonate with different populations of people. And we hope that somebody might tune into the Valley and stay for the politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that said, the people who have posted are Ariana, of course.
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised there. Yeah.
She's very politically active and has been and has always been, like, informed. So it's no surprise. I remember that episode on Vanderpump where her and Tom Sandoval were, like, telling Jax, like, you can't call them trannies anymore or something like that.
Yeah, and I remember once on one of the reunions when Andy Cohen, like, I think she was fighting with James Kennedy at the time or something, but somebody said something about, like, then I don't like you or I don't agree with you. And she was like, okay, that's like somebody telling me that MAGA doesn't agree with me. Don't give a shit. Like, and I was like, oh, damn, like, go.
Yeah, totally. I have not watched all the reunions. Sometimes they, like, bore me. So I'm glad you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ariana, Kristen. Now I'm needing a refresher.
Brittany had. Oh, Zach. Zach did. Yeah, I could see Zach. I bet Brittany didn't. Yeah.
Jax, of course, didn't. Neither of the Toms have yet, at least as when this TikTok was made. I haven't actually checked. I haven't like confirmed any of this information, by the way. Lala has not. I think there was one more person that has, but I'm not going to Google it because I'm just like, whatever, we can move on. But it is interesting. And of course, it sent me down a rabbit hole because do you know who else hasn't?
Who?
Stassi. And it really
Oh.
made me wonder because Stassi kind of gives low-key Republican energy, kind of. But she has lots of gay friends. Taylor Strucker is her best friend, and Taylor Strucker's gay. And Taylor Strucker's not MAGA. She's not Republican. I don't know, like Stassi strikes me as somebody who was raised wealthy and Republican and probably over time has shifted her views, but probably isn't that politically informed overall because it's never mattered to her.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. Sometimes I have friends that where it's a struggle for me sometimes when I'm like riled up about something and they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I don't really watch any of that stuff, you know? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? But some people just genuinely, that's it. They're just not engaged.
Yeah. And that used to be me. So I have to understand that that's just where some people are. But I am disappointed. I wonder if Stassi will post something. Oh, yeah. So I went down a rabbit hole, and I think that the only thing I could find that indicates that she might not be Republican is, well, two things. First of all, Taylor Strucker strictly is not, and she hates MAGA people, and she said that on a podcast. So I have that evidence.
Okay.
And then the other piece of evidence is I think that I say I think because you never know with the internet, but I think that Stassi like hearted and retweeted Taylor Swift saying that she was going to vote Democrat or something along those lines.
Oh, perfect.
So she reposted Taylor Swift's post.
So Stassi, I don't think she's like Republican or MAGA at all. Stassi strikes me as the kind of person who is very calculated and trying to keep her fan base.
Mm-hmm.
So she's just not going to touch it.
Yep. I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, she's smart. She's a really smart business person. And she probably really knows what her audience wants to hear. And that's not it.
Right.
All right. So let's move on. The next thing is I got in a Reddit feud this weekend because I accidentally accused somebody of their article being written by AI.
And the author called you out.
Okay, but let me just say, I think it's written by AI. Like she might have put in, or he or she might have put in like the ideas, but when you read the article, it reads just like when I have ChatGPT write our notes for us.
Yeah.
Which I sometimes have ChatGPT write our podcast notes for us, and then I like spoof it up a little with our own, like I take out some of its flowery language and stuff. But sentences like, it's a messy game of social musical chairs, and Bravo seems determined not to let stale dynamics sink the show. Like that is a ChatGPT sentence. I'm sorry.
I mean, send me the article and I'll definitely be able to call it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I look at ChatGPT all day. Like it's all my students turn in.
Okay, so I can't wait. Another thing ChatGPT does is uses a lot of dashes, and like nobody uses dashes in real life, basically. So that's also how I felt like I could tell. And so I commented on it because the article was about.
Does it use double dashes? Like when double dashes just mean it's a longer dash than a traditional tiny dash.
I think they're double dashes.
That's.
Thank you. So I actually didn't, excuse my language, but I actually didn't even reply to the person on Reddit because I didn't want to start a whole thing because I was kind of sure that it was AI and I didn't mean to offend anyone. I had no idea that person had written the article. I thought they were just posting in the Valley subreddit an article that they had read. And the article says that these are the alleged casting issues that are going on right now for the Valley season 3.
Yeah, I've read all about this. It's actually part of my update.
Okay, great. So let's get into it.
Okay. So I think that it's going to be it's going to be your fault and it's going to be everybody else's fault that is so determined to get Jax off that we're going to frickin' have Scandival on this show.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He's been interviewed for it. Jeremy, Ariana's brother, has been interviewed. Schwartz has been interviewed. Yeah, Schwartz has been interviewed. I'm fine with that. Come on, like Schwartz.
I'm fine with Schwartz.
Yeah. So, and from what I've read, it's also because they're worried about it, because of the fallout with Janet, and then you've got these couples that are splitting up. They don't want the show to end up like Vanderpump where people refuse to film with one another. Mm-hmm. So who else can we get in here? And I am totally fine with Janet going.
So am I. And I think it's hard because she's obviously like interwoven into this friend group. So it would be almost awkward if she wasn't there because she's obviously friends with these people. But I want her off my screen. She's annoying. But I want lots of people off my screen. And then when it really comes down to it, I'm like, they make a great villain. And I kind of like seeing them on TV, actually.
Yeah, I can see that. I think the other reason I'm fine with Janet going is because, like, first, I feel like she manufactures drama.
Exactly.
That's not real, right? That's the first. And then the other thing is, like, I don't want her there because I do think that some of these friendships are going to end. And I don't want to watch just Janet and Jason at their house or, you know what I mean? Like, unless people are willing to let her come all the way in, I don't have time for that.
Right. It seems like the group has been fractured and maybe we can just get rid of that part.
Yeah.
Because Jason doesn't bring a ton. I mean, they pulled him into a storyline. It seems stupid. Like, I mean, he's just a nice friend that doesn't really cause a lot of drama. And that's always nice to have one or two of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also heard that Jax and Brittany might not return, which I really doubt is true. Although I can see Jax not returning and Brittany staying. The show cannot go on without Brittany, I don't think.
I don't think so either. I mean, I definitely, it's hard because I'm sure Bravo is weighing out, you know, whether or not there's enough uproar that they have to listen to it and get rid of Jax.
Yeah.
I was surprised to learn that in season 1, Jax was making $30,000 an episode. And Brittany and Kristen were making $25,000 an episode. That annoyed me. And then for season 2, they got pay bumps. So season 1, if Jax was making $30,000 an episode, he was making about $3,600,000 a year, or for that season.
Sorry, 360,000.
Yes, thank you. God.
I was like, what's that number?
Like,
okay.
What the fuck am I trying to say? Yes, 360,000 for the season if he was making 30,000 an episode, right?
Yeah.
So then with their pay bump, they were closer to $500,000 a season for season 2. But it's per episode, which explains to me why we are seeing Jax in rehab sending these confessionals. He is doing it so that, because from my understanding, once the contracts are drawn up and he signs and all that, it doesn't matter that it was only 2 minutes. He gets what he's entitled to if he shows per episode.
I just have no words for that. I mean, like, what he's doing with all of that money. So everybody's talking about this online, like, where is all the money going? Because he didn't even pay his taxes. So where's all the money going?
Yeah.
And I bet that alongside drugs, I bet that he is gambling.
There's got to be some, I mean, look, Coke only costs so much.
Yeah, like much poorer people can afford a drug addiction. So that's not where it's going.
Right.
He didn't invest in his bar.
Right.
His mortgage was $17,000 a month, which is absolutely bonkers insane, but it doesn't sound like it was always that much. So yeah, that's just my like completely made up guess, is that he based on his addictive personality and stuff, he has some sort of secret habit that's causing a lot of money. And my guess would be gambling, or I mean, you could think of worse things. I bet it's some sort of gambling, sports betting, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's something like that.
Yeah. He was with the Schwartz, I think, at a pro wrestling event. Did you see that clip?
No.
They like did a fake fight like next to the ring for TV. Like it was like a thing where they pretended to get in a fight and they were pushing each other and like all that kind of stuff. It's like, stop giving this man a microphone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that's the alleged news. We'll see if anything happens. I really don't want to see Jeremy on my screen. I don't think that guy's a good guy. I don't know why they keep forcing him on us. He's never been good TV. He doesn't bring anything and his vibes are weird.
I fully agree. I'm not here for it. It was fine if it was Ariana's brother and we were just kind of like now and then, but no, you can't make him happen. I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. And then honestly, listen, I'm just going to say it. The Traitors revived Sandoval for me. I think he was funny. I think if they edit him funny, if they edit him as a goober, the goober that he is, then I'm going to like seeing him on TV. Like, don't prop this man up. Let his real personality show. He's a freaking goober.
I agree. I agree. I'd be fine having, Sandoval back. I would. I mean, especially if he gets himself into any kind of trouble again. Like that, I'm just here for it.
Yeah, me too. I think it's funny. So I actually kind of like this cast shakeup. I say like get rid of Jax, keep Brittany, get rid of Janet, Kristen, Luke, Jesse, and stay.
But
No Jeremy,
if
both
we
of the
bring
Toms.
right, if we bring back both the Toms and we have Brittany, like all that's left is Stassi, and let's just call it Vanderpump 2.0. Like that's what are
Yeah.
we doing?
Well, and Lala and Sheena are on it, right? So
Right.
yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the Jax recap. The Jax podcast recap. So he did a podcast with, and I have notes here in Notion if you want to pull them up, just so that you kind of, unless you took your own, you have a better memory than me, so you might remember everything. But Jax did an episode on his podcast, In the Mind of Jax Taylor, okay? And we listened, so you don't have to. He talked about so it was with his sister and his publicist, but she only like popped in at the very end, really. She wasn't really in it. And I think this was part 1 of 2. And they talked a lot about his childhood, and it was like a Q&A. So questions, quote unquote, questions from his fans. Who knows where these questions came from, but probably a producer. And it was about his childhood and the relationship he had with his sister, how his sister interpreted him, like during their childhood and teenage years, the kind of trouble he would get into and all of that. So I just did a TikTok about this, talking about how he showed a lot of the symptoms of antisocial personality disorder from a young age, and how like these behaviors are not they've always been there, and kind of got into a little bit of the dirty details. So they talked a little bit about their childhood. One thing he said is that they moved a lot as kids. He said that as soon as the crown molding went up, the house went up for sale and they would move to a new one, and that their parents got quote unquote bored. It sounds like they had a lot of money because they were doing that, and he was in competitive hockey. What's it called?
Travel hockey.
Okay.
Travel hockey. And any travel team is expensive for any youth sport, but travel hockey is the most expensive youth sport. It's pretty insane what you're paying for your kid to play travel hockey. And it's a lot of time. Like our daughter did travel softball for 1 season, and we said like our entire lives are revolving around her schedule because it's so much, and you're out of town all the time and practices every day. And it felt like none of the other kids could get any attention because it was so consuming, and
Yeah.
travel hockey even more so.
Yeah.
So I feel for his sister. That was what I was thinking. I was like, God, you poor thing.
Yeah, the world has revolved around Jax since he was a kid, and I think that's really interesting. His sister is a bit subdued.
Yeah.
And timid. And did they have another sibling, or was it just the 2 of them?
It seemed like they only talked about the 2 of them, because even when they talked about travel hockey, they were saying that she often stayed back at the house, and they didn't ever mention another sibling that was with her.
Yeah. Okay. So it was just the 2 of them. Yeah. So he also said, these were just some random notes that I wrote before we kind of get into the Q&A part, but he also said that during his live podcasts, he blacks out, quote unquote. And I don't think he means from like alcohol or anything. I think he just means like he's so dysregulated that he blacks out and doesn't remember what happened during it, because he's so like anxious and overwhelmed. And I bet that happens when people get on stage. That sounds like something that probably happens all the time, right? It's like you get up on stage to do a speech and you're like, did I say the words I was supposed to say? I can't remember it.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I remember like when I went to the Eras tour, like that was just like a spiritual experience for me. And I actually saw someone had done a TikTok, and I'm like, thank God this is an actual thing and I'm not insane. And it was about like super fans that go and can't remember a lot of what happened because it's such an overwhelming experience. And it's true. Like I'll go back and watch videos, and yeah, it's odd how it's like, this is so much that
Yeah.
you just don't even remember it.
Yeah. And there's probably something to totally being in the present moment too that can take you out. But what I noticed from Jax is that he's pretty much always dysregulated. This podcast episode, actually, he was very calm and he was less impulsive in jumping in. He still jumped in a lot, but like he was less impulsive in trying to constantly defend himself. And I found him to be a bit softer. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean he was less, like there was less anger simmering underneath the surface of the conversation the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you feel
I
that too?
I did. And I also think just because of some of what we're going to talk about when we get into the Valley and the after show and the math that I've done on when things are happening, I think it's also important to know that I don't know about this specific podcast episode, but I would say quite a few of the ones that I've listened to were filmed a while ago. And so I'm curious when he actually recorded this podcast because like he had one with Dr. Drew. And once I looked up like who was on whose show, I'm like, wow, that was recorded 2 months ago and he just released it today. So I'm just curious where he really was at this time in his recovery.
Yeah. Like, is it more recent? Is it? Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So they get into like a Q&A. So first he asks what it was like to have him as a brother. And she said, quote, obviously I was scared of you, quote. She said that he would trick her and torture her. These are her words, not mine. Trick her, torture her. She sounded pretty scared and traumatized by their childhood together. And I don't have an older brother, so I don't know if this is just like, they were acting like it was just like older brother things. Like Jax kept being like, oh yeah, these are just like normal sibling things. And I'm like, I'm thinking that there was probably more to it than normal sibling things.
I don't know. I have an older brother, and I mean, I remember very vividly one time like locking myself in the bathroom and refusing to come out until our dad got home from work because of him. Like,
Okay.
So and like the tricking me, torturing me, like I would describe my older brother that way. I think, like, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't totally sure. My cat's being crazy. I wasn't totally sure if this was normal stuff. She said that she would cry wolf all the time. And whenever he came near her, she would start crying.
Yeah.
She said he was always big too. And I think maybe like particularly compared to her, right? She's a little sister. She also said when she got to high school, all of the teachers knew him and were really relieved when she was a good kid. And he jumped in and he was like, I was great in high school. And then he was like, I think I hit my peak senior year. So and so was my girlfriend. She was the head cheerleader.
Yeah, it sounds just like Jax.
I know, like literally the same person. And just like kind of jumping in when she was about to say something less savory about him jumping in and being like, I was great, you know?
Yeah.
Like immediately, the thing with the person with narcissistic personality disorder is like a criticism cannot penetrate. They need to immediately defend against it because the criticism attacks their like very fragile sense of self.
Yeah.
And their very fragile sense of self is I'm better than everyone. I'm an amazing person and like all of this kind of stuff. So they have this idea of themselves. And if you criticize them, they can't take it in. They have to immediately defend against it. And you hear that all the time with him.
Yeah, I agree. I got to find the perfect spot.
So he also asked if he was protective, or I guess this is one of the questions. And she said he was not protective. And then he cut her off and immediately, again, like, I can't take that. I know I should have been protective. That's what people are implying. I wasn't protective. So you didn't need protecting. You were doing your own thing. You were popular, like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it really reminds me of what he does with Brittany, where it's like, she likes cooking. She likes taking care of me. She likes all this stuff. And it's like, it doesn't sound like it.
Right.
She or the producer or whatever asked 3 words to describe him, and she had a really hard time coming up with 3 words on the spot. She seemed a little afraid to say the wrong thing.
She had a hard time coming up with 3 words he'd be okay with. She had plenty of words that were popping right out, and she was like, what would be a synonym that doesn't sound like shithead? Let me think. You know, that's what was happening.
Yeah. How do I say psychopath, but not that word? Synonym for psychopath.
Right.
So she said he can be really funny. She said he can be really funny. Not he is really funny, not he's always really funny, not he really makes me laugh. He can be really funny.
Once in a while he gets lucky.
Yeah. And then she said, the second word she said is impulsive. And he said, that's right, I am impulsive. Why am I so impulsive? And starts asking these questions, which let me tell you, are the questions you should be talking to your therapist about if you're actually participating in therapy.
Right.
Then he had an ad for BetterHelp.
Okay.
The therapy service.
That's good.
And then they talked about their favorite memory from childhood, her favorite memory from childhood. And she said that, do you remember this?
No.
She said her favorite memory from childhood is Christmas. Sounds so cute, right? Because Jax would come in her room after looking through all of her presents and stockings and tell her what she got and ruin the surprise for her. And he was like, that was fun. Like, I ruined the surprise for you. And she was like, yeah, she like remembers it fondly.
Oh, wow. Aw.
I know. I'm like, if that's your favorite memory, then there must not be very many good
Right,
ones popping
right.
around up there. And they said they would get in trouble together a lot, and they were actually closer during those times. They would like sneak into each other's room. That was actually one of the cuter parts of the episode. They would like try to sneak into each other's room and like talk through the wall and stuff when they got in trouble together.
I can see that. I mean, I can see that in my own kids. Like, they can be at each other's throats, but like if they're both trying to like do something bad, they're so sweet to one another. Like, all of a sudden, like, they just united. How are we going to break this rule?
100%. That's really funny. That's like a life hack, actually, is just tell your kids they're in trouble together and then maybe they'll get along for once.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they asked what his best and worst qualities were. And he got emotional during this. And this was one of 2 or 3 times where he started to like tear up. I didn't watch the video, but I heard the audio and it sounded really genuine, which maybe has me tricked into thinking therapy is working, but only time will tell. I do think that his walls are a little more down with his sister. I do think that.
I do too. It's just like half of what we've heard, we've heard before. Like, when he says, like, why am I selfish? I was just thinking, like, if you're his therapist, you're like listening to this episode and you're like, we have talked about this so many times, Jax. Like, is anything I'm saying resonating or sticking in there at all? Like, no, because you don't want to say the reason that you're selfish or the thing you have to work on, or you already know, you just don't want to do it.
Yeah. And actually, I think I might have written this later, but he does say the same. Yeah. He says, like, why am I so selfish? Oh, yeah. Best and worst qualities. That was this part. So she said that his worst quality is his impulsiveness and that he thinks about himself first. And he was like, yeah, I am. I'm very, very selfish. My first instinct is to manipulate the situation. And then he was like, I wonder where I get that from. And then he said, actually, I think I know where I get that from. I think we both know where I get that from, but I won't say it. And to me, that implied that he was talking about his dad, their dad.
I agree.
And so I think we get these little glimpses into the person that he views his dad as and the person that his dad seems to actually have been. And I think this is a really interesting, like, psychological framing that he has in his mind, that he remembers his dad as being the person that he looked up to the most and the person that was like the person that he wanted to impress the most. And he remembers his dad as a great person, but when we actually get details of what his dad was like, we don't hear very good things.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is, another way that he's protecting himself from having to like feel the pain and the discomfort of knowing that if he's like his dad and his dad wasn't good, then what does that mean for him? And then once again, she says his best quality is that he can be funny, which yet to see that, but I guess I'll take your word for it.
Hold on, before you say the next thing, you're bumping something.
So I wonder, is it this? One thing he said is that he used to make his sister's boyfriend say hi to his dad.
Yeah.
Did you say hi to my dad? You're going to say hi to my father before you go down to the basement and do whatever it is with her that you're going to do.
I think that was like a little bit of a way to torture her and a little bit of a way to act like you're protective.
Yeah. I also think it was him showing respect towards his dad in his mind, this person that he's propped up to be the best person ever. You better respect him. So yeah, he talked a lot about his dad. They talked a lot about their dad in these like kind of referential ways. Referential, is that a word? And then he also said that he would always tell on his sister for what she did wrong, stating that it was leverage. He was like, yeah, it was leverage. I would always tell on her or keep the secret and tell later whenever I needed it.
And that one, I'm like, that's weird. Like, again, with my own kids, like, they do not sell each other out.
Oh, really?
No, I have to like lie and say, you can tell me or you can keep lying, but like I already know. I already
Right.
like heard from, but by and large, like they will stick to having each other's back. Except for my youngest, Penelope. She'll sell anybody right down the river.
Right. Well, her loyalty is to you.
That is 100% correct. She loves to come outside and be like, Mom, Davin just said the B word.
Not the
Stop.
B word.
I know.
Okay, so one other thing that I noted before we get to the end is that he looks for a lot of affirmation from his sister during this podcast episode, saying things like, "Aren't I much more relaxed at home? Like, don't you think I'm a good person though? Like, underneath it all?" And she always agrees and says that he is, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I think that the alternative would hurt his feelings, and she doesn't want to hurt his feelings.
And I think it's also sad that it really is the only family member he really has.
Yeah, right. So this is the part where Lori jumps in at the very end here, and Lori was also on this call, but she, I guess, like only talked at the very end, and he dispelled the rumor about not being in rehab. She says
I
what
believe it now. I
I do
believe that
too.
I do because I'm like you. I don't think that you would double down to the like. I just wouldn't talk about it again. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
address it, and I certainly wouldn't do it with like my manager and my sister. And so no, I believe he was there. I think he was in a place that was way too lax.
They said
But
that they gave him his phone back after 48 hours.
right,
They took it away for the first 48 hours, which is something that I had read online that in like celebrity rehabs and stuff, they'll do that. They'll take it away, but then they'll offer to give it back.
offer, offer.
Exactly. He should have
You
said no.
yes,
He
you
admits that.
yes,
But that doesn't mean that he's learned anything. That just means that he knows what he should have done.
right.
And then Lori also said that she wanted to test locking him out of his social media for 48 hours. And he was really, really against this. But he was like, let's just talk about it offline, kind of a thing. And I think that is what happened a few days ago when he said he was going offline. I think that she locked him out.
Well, I do too, but I think it was filmed before, and I think the episode came out, and there were like people commenting you should do that
Yeah.
or like whatever. And so then he was like, okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
That's what I think. He tends to do whatever the internet tells him, or tries to
Yeah.
lean in. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because if enough people say, like, we'll like you more if you do this, then he'll do it.
Right.
It's a manipulation tactic.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, TBD on, I guess, when this was filmed, or I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever find out, but it is interesting in the context of this episode we're going to recap because he does some pretty horrid shit at the end of this episode we find out about. And this is at the very end of his rehab stay, like 2 days before he's leaving. So let's get into it.
Okay. Wait, is that it for our pop culture? Because I have one more thing.
Yeah, and there's a Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively recap that we're just going to have to get to later, unless that's your thing.
No, that's not my thing. That's not my thing. We only have one episode left of Sister Wives. They made the one-on-one tell-all a 4-part because they have nothing else to give us. So it's a 4-part. We have one episode left. I know a lot of fans think it's going to come back for another season. I just don't know how because again, everybody hates each other. Everybody hates each other on this show. They're not going to like film together. And none of us want to watch like Cooking with Christine. So I have a feeling this is it. And I'm going to miss the show a little bit, but I'm going to miss the out of the podcast.
Yeah.
And I saw that
they're besties.
Yes. God, it's so funny. I saw the Washington Post. There was an article that came out. It was an opinion piece on how Sister Wives explains Trump's America, like how, yeah. And it was really, really interesting because there are like so many little things. The family completely unravels during COVID. That is what destroys them. And you see these different perspectives on COVID and, the vaccinations, just all of it. And like to see it all fall apart at the end, the way that it kind of is like reflective of what is happening with Americans and with each other. It's like, is there any way for us to find our way back to each other and like at least not hate each other? And it was so funny. I was listening to the podcast the other day and they were talking about this Washington Post article because the author of the article mentioned the podcast. Like she said, like my favorite podcasters talk about Robin. And the joke is that like her and her husband engage in like hospice play for sex.
Oh.
She's so incredibly low energy that it's like, it's got to be like hospice play. And the hosts were just like, if anybody like can get us a copy, because we're clearly not the kind of people that subscribe to the Washington Post. Like unless it's on TMZ, we would never know that this happened. So yeah, I'm going to recommend it again. It will make you laugh. And 18, episode 3. It's probably the best podcast episode there is, but I can't wait to see what they do with this final one. I think this will be it. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm going to get into it as soon as it's over, which is hilarious.
Sometimes that's the best way. That's how I did Vanderpump.
That way you can binge it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't have to wait for anything.
Exactly.
All right. Love it. Well, we are re-recommending that podcast then. Yep. And I'm going to listen to that episode you sent me.
It's good. You're going to love it. And be offended. Be really, really offended. But
sure.
Okay. You didn't say it, so it's all right.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought it. All right. So the Valley recap. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So we start off the previously on the Valley, and it's still Jax's voice.
Yeah.
And I guess they probably recorded those. They used the same clip over and over again, but I want it to be somebody else.
I agree.
Because it makes it seem like it's his show.
Yeah. Well, I think originally he probably was the big selling point. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Baby, we're all right. So we get into the beginning, and Jasmine and Zach are rollerblading, and I just think it's really cute when people are learning how to do something like that, because you do look so dumb, and I love anybody who gets out there to be brave enough to try it anyway.
Okay, but here's the thing. Like, why near main roads?
Oh, yeah, I know. Like across a crosswalk? Are you insane?
Right. Hold on. I know you're going to have to edit this, but because it's going on YouTube, I want to show you something that I think they should have used. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, you're not there. I'm talking to the void. Okay. So what would have made this better is if they had been out there with this, which is what we just got my daughter, who's trying to learn how to roller skate. So she goes in the middle of it and she can hold on.
Wow, wait, that's a really good idea.
Listen, if she falls once, that will be it for her. Like, she hates it. She will never do it again. This is the stupidest thing ever. Okay. So we had to find a way to, like, you know, hold her in. So that's what I would have liked to see. If you're going to do it on a main road in LA, give yourself something. Good God.
I know, totally. I learned how to roller skate. Is that what Penny got, roller skates with
yes.
blades?
Yes.
I learned how to roller skate when I lived in San Diego, and I just taught myself. Like, I watched YouTube videos, and there was this parking lot next to this was during COVID, right? So everything's closed. There was this parking lot during my apartment complex, and I would just like skate around in the parking lot and like taught myself. And, you know, I got better and better. And so then I would go out on the boardwalk and skate. It's so fun. I would listen to like dance music and like dance, and it was so fun. I like loved it. But I fell down when I was trying to teach myself how to go to backwards. I fell down once, and I fell on my tailbone, and I swear to God, it hurt for like a year. Like, I couldn't do crunches for like a year because my tailbone still hurt so bad. So, and I will not go backwards now, because that pain, like, what are you supposed, you can't protect your tailbone.
No, I don't know how to roller skate or rollerblade or anything.
Yeah, it's actually really hard, roller skating. Anyways, okay, so then we get to all the girls getting their hair done, and we learn that Jax has been selling Brittany's Jenny Craig bags, which I'm assuming are just like swag bags.
I'm pretty sure. And I'm telling you right now that I plan to like go onto eBay, find some old ones that sold. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find his store.
Yeah.
And I'm going to deep dive the hell out of it.
Yeah, it sounds like he's just selling off like anything that he can, basically. Like anything of Brittany's that she gets as PR. Because remember, he was selling a mascara when he was going into rehab. He had sold a mascara that he needed Jason to drop off. And where is all of this money going?
And he's like, not even
desperate enough to sell mascara.
Right. And he's not even marketing it as like Brittany's swag. It's so wild and weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I didn't write down anything else from the girls chatting. Did you?
No, other than like, I seriously doubt you all get your hair done at the same place on a normal day.
Right. Yeah, they were like doing a little girls outing spa
Yeah.
day or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get to Kristen and Luke's housewarming, and
Yeah.
Zach is over at the very beginning, and then like everybody starts to arrive, and this is one of the main little parties of the day or of the episode. What did you think of this?
I am starting to love Zach more and more. Like, he's like the like Schwartz goofy, like he brings the jokes. I'm really starting to enjoy him.
Yeah, I think similarly to Schwartz, actually, when he's not backed into a corner having to defend himself, he's a really fun, easygoing guy that seems like he rides for his friends and
Yeah.
like loves his friends a lot and seems really supportive and really sweet. And I just hate when he is being an asshole.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's he needs to figure that out for
Yeah.
sure. But aside from that, I mean, I love it. I love it when Sheena gets there and he like, or no, when before that, when that girl, what is her name, Janet or Jenny,
Jenna.
Jenna. Yeah, when she gets there and he's like, I met her, of course, through Sheena because Sheena's like Kevin Bacon. It's all 1 degree of Sheena. Like, I love it. Love it.
Yeah, and just by watching the show, like you know that that's true. Sheena knows everyone somehow.
Yeah, well, and from what I read, it was like Janet was like a fangirl of Vanderpump.
Yeah.
And got in with Sheena, of course. Yeah. And look at her now.
I know. She's the main villain on our show.
Yeah.
The person that people actually don't like.
Right.
Yeah. So the boys start talking about scro talks.
Which is a thing. I like read up on it because I'm like, is this really? But from what I read, it yes, maybe for aesthetic reasons, but it also does something to help regulate excessive sweating.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because they regulate body temperature and all that. Yeah. So that is like usually more why it would be used. That'd be the first reason.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if somebody isn't able to sweat out of their balls because they get scrotox. Does that make their body have a hard time regulating the temperature? Like where you must be sweating out of other places instead.
I don't know that they're sweating out of their balls. Are they sweating out of their balls?
I don't know.
Like
I don't know anything about balls.
My thought was that like your balls, like they help regulate your whole body temperature. So that like if you're getting the scrotox, then your body may not feel as hot unless you don't sweat as much. Your body, not your balls. I mean, it could be your ball. I don't know. We need a male listener is what we need.
We may never know.
We may never know.
Yeah.
We may never know.
Jasmine wants to talk to Janet and Jason and very awkwardly goes up to ask if she can talk to them at the end, which they never end up talking because we get a scene later where they go to the restaurant. Now I have to ask you, do you think they actually had the conversation at the house, but it didn't get recorded or caught on camera or something? Or do you think they just never got a chance to have it?
Oh, I think everybody just drank too much and forgot. Like that's my guess. And so it was like, we'll film this actually later.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so anyway, you were talking about the friend Jenna that got invited. We should say that allegedly Jenna was dating Aaron when Michelle started dating Aaron. And so there's this whole Jesse he's that like meme with all the math equations, like trying to figure out like, were they dating at the same time? Like it's none of his freaking business. It doesn't matter. People date multiple people at once. This is not like breaking news.
Okay, sure. But at the same time, like, here's Michelle. Like, Sheena said your girlfriend was sleeping with someone. I don't know. Like, it's just, they're both so petty with each other.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Michelle had gone after him. Right. He's just trying to get petty revenge, though. He's not like, he doesn't actually care.
Right. He would like to prove that they were dating while she was still in the marriage and invested in the marriage. That's what he would like. He would like to figure out how she can be the villain.
And he would also like to figure out how he can make Aaron look bad, I think.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. So Jenna allegedly will be potentially like a cast, like a friend of for the rest of the season.
Okay.
based on this storyline.
Jasmine and Zach were friends of in season 1.
Oh.
They were not, I mean, they are now, but they were friends of in season 1.
Yeah, so we'll see how all that goes. Kristen, so then we get the scene where Zach and, or not Zach, what's his name? Luke.
Okay.
He might as well disappear. He like barely, he's, yeah. So then we get the scene where Luke is talking to Danny in the bedroom about the engagement. And he said that Kristen is really hard to keep a secret from because she, quote unquote, Kristen is very good at uncovering the truth.
I mean, she probably goes through his phone, goes through his email, goes through his pockets of his pants, like, and it's all like on accident, you know, it's all like, I just happened, like you had this one window open that required a password and fingerprint. And I somehow, it's so, yeah, Kristen.
It's so Kristen. And yeah, like Luke knows there's no keeping a secret from this girl. So this is going to be really hard to pull off. He's planning on proposing to her on a trip. She's probably expecting that he's going to propose to her on this trip because every dumbass proposes on a trip. Sorry. And
not Jax.
No, Jax did it at the old chicken shop.
That's exactly right.
Because Brittany deserves nothing more than the old chicken shop. Seriously, everything he did was an insult and should have been taken that way. He was trying to insult her and still she didn't get insulted.
I know.
Anyway, this isn't about Jax. So then there's the scene where everybody's like starting to leave the party. And first of all, just like Danny is so cheesy. I remember a few episodes ago when you were talking about how like you can picture the kind of guy he is like in LA. He's like the actor type of guy who tells all the cheesy jokes and who like yaks it up and all that kind of stuff. And he's so cheesy. And the way that Nia rides or dies for him is so cute, honestly. Because like I would find him obnoxious, I think.
I have a theory on him that I'm gonna ask you about when we get to a later scene. And I'm gonna see if the therapist in you agrees or disagrees.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so then they're all leaving, and I just noted that like Jasmine is giving Danny the Heimlich in kind of a silly way.
Yeah.
When he's like starting to choke. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but she does not even look slightly uncomfortable around him.
No.
I think that whole storyline was like made up. And they all pretended to be upset about it.
100%.
And in the meantime, they made Danny look like an alcoholic and spread that rumor about him. And I would be fucking pissed.
I would too.
Like, yeah, and we'll get to more of the alcoholic thing later. But she doesn't look slightly uncomfortable. And I found her very likable in this moment when she's just having fun with her friends.
I agree. Yeah.
And it's like, I wish we saw less of her pretending to be mad at things and more of her actual personality, which isn't her fault unless, I don't know.
Well,
like,
I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, they got to give us a show. You know, if it's just people yucking it up and having a good time, I'm not watching that.
I know. I just like, I have an issue with the fact that she's one of the only people of color on our TV screens on Bravo. And they always villainize that person. And I just wish they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wish that they would let her have a good, fun storyline. And maybe it's all in her control and she wanted this storyline or whatever. But I just like, I want to see more of her. I don't want people to hate her if she's not hateable. It seems like everybody likes her and like wants to be her friend. So let's see some of that.
Well, I heard that her and her girlfriend are engaged, and I'm like, I better see that proposal.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
You know?
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other comments about the party?
Yeah, when they're all in the kitchen talking about what Jax did. Isn't that still at the party?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that is still at the party. I wasn't sure. Okay, because I couldn't remember when they had that conversation. All right.
Oh, so let's get into my God. Okay, first of all, I had like a Chandler Bing from Friends moment when Brittany says that, and you can go into the details of it, but we find out that the urgent care heart attack was a complete fucking lie.
Yeah.
And I am telling you, I out loud was like, I knew it. Like, I never doubted for a minute it was bullshit.
Yep.
I fucking knew it.
Yep. You did know it. You clocked it.
Yep.
Yeah, so he lied about going to the hospital. He bullied the front desk person at rehab to lie for him. What the fuck?
And
Not what
like,
the fuck about Jax. I mean, like, yeah, he would. I mean, like, what kind of rehab is this that
well,
he could make the girl at the front desk cry? Everybody should be trained in this shit that works there.
right. And also, like, I huge fucking props happy that the therapist let them know that they were lied to.
Yeah.
I am so fucking glad that
Yeah.
they were informed that they were lied to.
Yeah. They're seeing who he is.
Yep.
Then we find out that actually he wants to split the podcast 50-50.
Oh, yeah. Not surprising. Even a tiny bit.
Then she says, and by the way, he sent me a really long email because, again, his phone number is blocked.
Mm-hmm.
He sent her a really long email about how the house was in foreclosure.
Yep. And so in watching the after show, like if you're watching the after show, you know that there are two different like times that the after show is filmed depending on the outfit that they're wearing. Okay. So the newer ones where Jax has a little bit more muscle on him, his arms are a little bigger, he's in the black shirt, Brittany's in that black halter top dress with the white
Oh yeah,
that had to have been filmed after April 25th. So we're talking like a month and a half ago at the most, because they reference and showed in one of the after shows that this moment where Jax like fixes his junk out in public, basically. And TMZ had posted the photos of him like rearranging, and they talk about it on the after show a few times. That was April 24th of 2025 that story came out. Okay. And they must have been allowed to watch parts of the after show because of the original ones that they had, because Janet makes reference to Jax saying certain words incorrectly and makes fun of it. Yeah. So she has seen it too. I say all that to say because Jax talks about this, like the podcast, the foreclosure, like, you know, all this shit. And in the after show,
talks about it in the after show.
Yes, and in the after show last night, like if you watch, there's a moment where he does that like giant eye bulge thing that he does when he does coke. Like it's very like, you know, and I'm like, whoa, that's coked out Jax. And he said it.
Show, you mean?
Yes, in the after show. And he said it like when he was on his own podcast talking about when he had Lala's brother on a couple weeks ago. And you know, he was talking about relapse and whatever. And Jack started talking about like the tells that he had when he was using coke. And he was like, you know, big one for me was the way my eyes would like, you know, be bulging big. That would give it away. I don't know. Like when I was watching, I'm like, you seem coked up on the after show, which was
and we do know that he started using once he got out of rehab again, and then stopped. So potentially when they were filming this, it was while he was using again. Although I don't know how all those timelines add up.
Well, right, but this is just a month and a half ago. Everything we're watching on the Valley is last summer.
Right.
This is a month and a half ago.
Right.
That he's filming the after show. He's still lying on the after show. He's still like, it's just, here's what it is, Lauren. There was a moment. This is like when you take your ex-boyfriend back and you immediately know you made a fucking mistake. Yeah. There was a moment when I listened to the podcast and I thought, I think there could be some growth. And then I watched the after show and I'm like, it's fucking gone. It's all fucking gone.
Yeah. So just imagine how hard it is for Brittany, who loves him, God forbid, who has loved him for 10 years, who still loves him, who has seen sides of him that none of us will ever see in terms of good. Like she's seen good sides of him. And he, you know, he's tricking all of us. Just imagine how compelling it would be if you actually loved him.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. Piece of work.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we get to Lala's house, and it's Lala and Michelle hanging out. And it just like all of their houses look the same. They're all really nice and beautiful and big and all that. But like Ariana and Tom's look exactly the same. Jax and Brittany's looks exactly the same. Like they all have these white houses with like black trim, boxy, very modern, open, high ceilings.
Farmhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really nice. I would love to live in a house like that. I'm just saying they're like all identical. A developer must have come in and been like, the Valley, that's our shit. We're building all the same houses here, bitch.
Well, Stassi makes that joke when her and Bo are looking at houses together. Stassi's like, I just want to find a house. Like, it's just weird to me that they all didn't say, like, I love your house. Oh, I love your house. Like, oh, I love your house. They're all the same house. Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so yeah, they're having a conversation, and Michelle's daughter of evidently asked her why her apartment is like smaller than Jesse's house is. Do you think I'm trying to figure out these things that Michelle says that her daughter says that like I don't have a ton of knowledge about kids and the types of things they say, but sometimes she says that her daughter says things where I'm like the only way I can imagine a girl of that age saying that is if somebody told her to say it, like if somebody got in her mind about it. Like if Jesse was like, don't you notice how my house is so much bigger than mommy's house or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that something is being said in front of in front of her daughter, whether it's him. It's also like kids love to, if they hear you talking to another adult about something, like you're on the phone or a friend is over, those are like privileged conversations that they're not really a part of. So when they get to overhear part of it, that's where I find that they're most apt to go back and use this adult thing that they heard in a way, like, because they think they're having an adult conversation with you. They just heard, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
That's what I've seen in the co-parenting thing. And I mean, this whole scene, I'm almost done with co-parenting. The kids that were co-parenting are older kids, they're in high school. And so, Lala, Michelle, I know you guys listen and love this podcast. What I would say to both of you is you just got to let go of what's going on, because when you're raising kids, you're like, these are the values I want my kids to have. These are the ideals I want my kids to have, all that stuff. And it's great when you're with the person, but when you guys split up, they might not do the same thing, like how they joke about, throwing things in the cart so that because they can buy whatever they want when they're with dad. Like, you don't have any control over that. And trying to like make because I can just see Michelle being the kind of person to call Jesse and be like, listen, I don't want her thinking that she can have whatever she wants. I need you. And like, first of all, he's the kind of person that's going to do it even more now.
100%.
You just have to let it go and just do what you do at your house.
Like, don't make it a big deal. Yep. Don't like draw attention to it. Just move forward.
Yep. That's your biggest hope.
Yep. Yeah. I know. I feel bad for them navigating co-parenting with small kids. It's like, you never really know what kind of parent your partner is going to be. You never really know what kind of husband they're going to be. You never really know anything. Like every relationship and every, when you have kids and like all of these big things, like they're all leaps of faith, and you hope that it's going to work out, and you hope that it's going to be what you imagine in your mind. And sure, some people are able to overlook red flags that other people might not be able to overlook and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, you just don't know. People change and relationships fall apart and people get bitter and petty, and it just sucks.
It does. I think it's not, I have a friend that went through a really bad co-parenting situation, and I used to tell her, like, you got to remind yourself that this is not forever. There is an end to this. Yeah. And we were just talking recently, and now it's been several years, and her child is now 13 as opposed to 8 when, she was in the thick of it. And she's like, God, you were right. I can see light at the end of the tunnel. So much of the dynamic has changed now. It's better. But when you're in it, and it's in that ugly part. Yeah. Oh God, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. You are there's no way to be like, you're the worst version of yourself.
Right.
You just are.
You both are. Like, you're also being a pain in the ass.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they do talk a little bit about Michelle's mom's cancer.
Yeah. And I found it sad, but I don't know. There is something, I think it's just how it comes up later that I didn't love.
Okay, we'll talk about it then. Okay, so next we go on to El Compadre, the weirdest Mexican restaurant I've ever seen. I
Okay.
couldn't tell if I like.
Whoa. What do you mean weirdest? Because I saw it and I was like, did they film in Melbourne, Florida, where I live? Because I've been there. I've been to that restaurant.
Really? They
Like,
have one there like that?
yes. And it led me down a whole rabbit hole. And I found out, because I was like, what is it with Mexican restaurants and these red vinyl booths?
Yeah, it was the red vinyl booths for me. I'm like, what is up with those?
Okay, so believe it or not, so then I start looking into it because I'm like, why do all Mexican restaurants have these? Because that's my experience. And then I saw people on Reddit like going to visit a certain town and being like, can anybody recommend a good red booth Mexican restaurant for me? And I'm like, is this a phrase? Like,
Oh.
and so it sounds like a red booth Mexican restaurant is just like a casual Mexican American restaurant in America.
Okay.
And they typically have these red vinyl booths and the round arches and all of that is very stereotypical.
Okay. Maybe I've been to restaurants like this before and just didn't really realize
That looks
how.
just like the Mexican restaurant in our town. Like I literally, when it came on, I'm like, oh my God, are they here?
Yeah, it looks so good.
Yeah.
I'm really hungry now.
Fuck.
Okay. So they are at this restaurant and Janet apparently has looked up. So it's Janet, Jason, Jasmine, and Jasmine's girlfriend, Melissa. And they are here to make amends,
Right.
So Janet evidently has looked up the definition of Karen. Like
This
she didn't know.
This was so no, she knows exactly what it is. She looked it up so that she could be confident in how much she wasn't one. Like she wanted to see examples and be like, I don't do that. I don't do that.
Right.
And like not realizing like right now you're being a Karen.
See, this is Karen energy.
Yes, this is what she's talking about.
Yeah. So they make up. Long story short, they make up, and the conclusion is basically like Jasmine was never the problem. They're actually mad at Kristen.
Right, which is so wild to me because first of all, when she says she's adamant, like Kristen is the one that told us, Kristen is the one that said you said it. And I'm like, you just showed us the clip. Luke said it.
Yeah.
Not Kristen. Why aren't we mad at Luke? Because Luke's a great guy. That's why we're not mad at Luke.
Right.
So this is just Janet like trying to get people to turn on Kristen and not her.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was really funny when Michelle says like bottom line is they're one of my closest friends. And like that's what she says about Janet and Jason. And I'm like, you started that sentence correctly. When you said, when you said they're one of my closest friends, you mean one.
Yeah.
What she means is I really fucking like Jason.
Yeah.
That's what she means.
Wait, didn't Jasmine say that?
Yeah, who did I say said it?
I think you said Michelle.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah. When Jasmine says they're one of my closest friends.
Yeah, and she basically follows that up by saying nobody wants to be on Janet's bad side.
Right.
Yeah. So they make up, and then we get a little video of Jax saying that he's going to be out soon, and he's nervous and anxious, and he hopes people will see how much he's changed and how much he's trying.
And that is his $30,000 for that episode.
Yep.
That's it. He just made 30 grand. What am I doing with my life?
Well, I'm speechless. Okay, so, and yeah, he just comes off as, once again, like so insincere. I do not believe he's nervous. I do not believe he's anxious, at least not about what he's saying. These are the things he thinks he's supposed to be saying. These are the things that he knows he's supposed to be feeling, but he does not feel any of those feelings.
Yep.
Because he's a psychopath.
Yep.
All right, so next we get to Britt's house, and everyone is coming over. It's a bunch of fast food delivered, and like this gives me such the ick. It's bad enough to get good food delivered because it's almost always coldish.
Okay.
So eating really good food, coldish, sucks. Eating fast food cold is disgusting. That's my opinion.
I don't know if I want to tell you because I really hated Michelle in this moment
Oh,
when
well,
she
I know why. It's because, I'm not gonna
here's
get
what
into
she
it.
was saying. Here's what she was saying. Brittany likes to eat shitty food, but I
Yeah,
care about my body. That's what
yeah,
she was trying to say. And also, In-N-Out is the bougie one. So take your fucking elitist ass and go through the McDonald's drive-through.
yeah. Wait,
I,
they didn't have In-N-Out?
Yeah, because she's like, you didn't watch the after show. Okay.
Oh,
So on the after show, there with Sheena, and Michelle's again talking about how she doesn't eat fast food. And Sheena says, what do you do on a road trip? And she goes, well, then I would do In-N-Out. And Sheena's like, that's the bougie fast food. And she's
yeah,
like, it's not bougie. Yes, it is. It is.
yeah.
It
I mean,
is.
I disagree, but okay.
Because you like In-N-Out.
I do like In-N-Out. I do agree it's fast food.
It's the bougie fast food.
I
Like
wouldn't
it's
consider it bougie fast food, but I get the point you're trying to make, which is it's more expensive than McDonald's.
yes, yeah. And we don't,
And
I
that,
mean,
like, poor people don't eat at In-N-Out, basically, is what you're saying.
correct. Right. The poor states don't even have it. We don't have an In-N-Out in Florida. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like In-N-Out is made with organic beef and, like, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, we won't get into it.
No, wait. What?
You have a little bit of a complex
About which thing?
about, like, bougie versus poor dynamics.
I definitely do because I think that like I feel that a lot of the vibe I get from people that I would like are that Southern California granola whatever. I feel like there's a huge disconnect where they don't understand the privilege behind it. And so there's like I notice a like look down upon and without them ever realizing like
You feel judged because it's like you eat McDonald's and they don't eat McDonald's, and so by saying that you're like, so basically you're saying like I eat disgusting food and you're better than me.
yeah, but also because you're not realizing that you can afford to and I can't.
But maybe they do realize that. You make a lot of assumptions in that.
That is true, but I that is true. But then even then, like that personality type to me starts in with the well, those are the choices that you made.
Yeah, I feel like this is a whole
yeah, we'll have to edit
can of
that. Yeah,
worms.
yeah,
Yeah, that some people that might listen to this podcast probably shouldn't hear.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Because some people that might listen to this podcast are the person you're really talking about.
She's not the only one.
Okay.
I've lived there. I spent
I know, but I think that you see her and everyone that says those things.
Yeah, probably. I see it like I very much felt like Michelle was taking a dig at Brittany in that moment. I did. Yeah. I felt like it was a way to be like better than.
Yeah, like I care about my body and you don't, and that's okay.
Right.
Right. That's what you hear.
That's what I hear. And I'm
like, I'm rich and you're poor, and that's okay. That's okay. You know?
Right. Yeah. So I didn't care for that.
Yeah. I know. I do think that Michelle is a snob.
Yeah.
With all of that said, like, yeah, I think that she is a bit of a snob. I don't think that she would argue that case.
No, I think you're right. I don't think she would argue that case. I think she likes that about herself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think so too. Which is why probably her and Jesse worked for so long.
God, yes. Because
who could stand that if you didn't also feel that way?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so then we got off on a bit of a tangent and I lost my place here. Hold on.
I think they start packing.
What?
I think they start packing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Okay, so they say that Jax gets back in 2 days and... Oops. Hold on, I'm going to just restart this. I need to edit from like 33 to 33. Okay, so they say that Jax gets back in 2 days and they're getting rid of all of his stuff. So that's what this party is about. I don't know if we knew that at the beginning. I didn't catch that if we did, but they all go up to his room and they all have trash bags and they're putting all the stuff in trash bags and getting rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. This scene too is where I'm just like, some of these ladies just need to listen to a stylist, is all I'm going to say. Like the outfit choices, I'm just.
Oh man, I didn't notice.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this one it was Kristen. Like, I think you should wear what makes you feel confident and makes you feel good about yourself. But what makes me feel good and like confident in myself is not necessarily what I'm going to wear on national television because I know what it might look like on my body. I don't know. It's just there's a couple times where I'm like, can we just?
What was she wearing?
A crop top.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
She's got fantastic fucking legs.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just odd to me sometimes what they choose to highlight on themselves.
Yeah. I also imagine that you look way different on TV than you do in person. And in person, the outfit might look good. And then when you see it on TV, you're like, really?
Oh, God, yeah.
I can't. My body dysmorphia could never. I would like.
I
would jump off a bridge.
Oh, no.
We are not made for that. And maybe eventually when you've been on TV that long, you're just like, I'm going to wear whatever I want. Like, I look like I look. I don't know what you want me to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, again, it's just like, you know, you do the TikToks and you can do the YouTube. And I told you, like, I'm not reading a single comment, just so you know. Like, don't expect participation from me on that because I'll protect my mental health at all costs and I don't need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're afraid people are going to say mean things.
People are assholes.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Like
I'm just waiting for a comment about people hating my voice because I know I have like a little bit of that Valley Girl accent thing.
No, you don't.
I have like a little bit of I feel like I have a little bit of an annoying accent that people will pick apart.
God, we're so mean to ourselves more than anybody else in the world. You know that?
Yeah, I know. Because nobody's going to say anything mean.
Yeah.
We're amazing.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so Michelle says that this is when Michelle's talking about how she doesn't feel like she gets the same support that that Brittany is getting.
She says that when they're packing up?
Yeah, in like an ITM. I don't think with them, but
what is ITM? You say this a lot, and I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's an in the moment.
Oh, this is when the confessional thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe they call them ITMs on a different show, like The Bachelor or something, and I'm just like...
Okay, I've never heard this.
Oh, yeah. I don't know where I probably heard it from The Bachelor.
I'm learning so much. The other day I said to the kids, I was watching Summer House, and I paused it, and I called the kids into the room, and I was like, what does it mean when they say send it? And they're like, it's like you're dedicated to it, like you're doing it, you know? And I was like, really? Okay. Like,
yeah, we're old.
Yeah.
We're old. It's crazy. Okay, so yeah, Michelle's saying that she doesn't feel like she gets the same support and as Brittany is getting. And she feels like she's going through a very similar situation. She feels like Jesse is basically the same thing as Jax, which definitely is arguable, although we don't know everything about Jesse.
Yeah.
And my first inclination was to judge her for this and be like, shut the hell up. Like, Brittany, just support Brittany and don't make this about you. And then I thought about it a little more and I thought, you know what? If I was with my group of friends and I was also going through a really hard divorce with a really shitty ex-husband who verbally abused me and financially spent all of our money and tried to turn my kid against me. And everybody was like, poor Brittany. Like, we don't care about you. I would probably feel the same way. I'd be like, does anybody know what's going on with me? Like, where are you guys for me? And it reminded me of that TikTok that my friend made. I told her, by the way, to listen to our podcast. And I was like, we talked about you. You should go listen. And she wants to be on.
Oh my God, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah. So I said, we would love to have you on. Let me figure out how to do that. I don't know anything about how to do that, but sure. She said she's a VPR scholar. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice.
But anyway, it reminded me of her TikTok about how, and again, I don't know if I think she goes by her. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna say her until further notice. So I was looking at her TikTok, and um, she said that everybody treats Britney like a baby, and they like she's kind of infantilized and treated like this is all happening to her, and she didn't have any choice in any of this. And like, while she's like, I want to be careful not to blame her, like victim blame her. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that like the way that everybody almost the way that everybody like circles around and babies her throughout all of Vanderpump Rules and everything too. Like she's always kind of treated like a child in the room that's like being taken care of all the time.
I
And
disagree. I would say as a victim. I wouldn't say as a child. I don't see that.
yeah.
I would say as a victim. I think she's treated, I think sometimes she's over victimized. But
Okay,
no,
elaborate on what you mean.
I just think this is a woman who like pays her own bills and Jax's bills and like takes care of a lot of responsibility that I don't see it as like childlike. I think there's a lot of victimizing and like allowing her to stay in that victim place.
Yes,
That
yes.
I could see, but I
Yes.
don't
That's
see
probably more like what she was trying to describe.
yeah.
Is that thing of like everybody, yeah, like not holding her accountable for her own parts and everything that's happening in her life,
Yeah.
and treating her like the world is happening to her.
Yeah.
And I just think it's interesting, right? Because like Michelle is one of those people that people like, she is so cold and oh god, my nails are disgusting. She is so cold, and or she comes off sort of like disconnected from emotion. And so it's almost like hard to sympathize with her.
Well, I also think the other piece of that that's missing is that I don't, you can like, it's palpable that Brittany has low self-esteem.
Right.
You don't get that vibe even a tiny bit from Michelle.
So true.
So I think
Michelle seems like somebody who can hold her own.
Yes.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
You're so right. It is that Michelle seems like she can hold her own, so nobody circles around her to provide her with the same support because people don't think she needs it.
Right. I think with Brittany, it's like they're constantly thinking if we can get her to see how loved and valued and all those things she is, she'll start to believe those things about herself.
Right.
Whereas with Michelle, it's like, you seem like you fucking got it.
Yeah. And so it's almost like enabling Brittany's behavior and like all of that, because people are like, we really wanted it to work out with you and Jax. And it's like, you did?
Right. Right.
After the footage, after the years and years and years of verbal abuse.
Well, I think what they're trying to say is we hoped it would back then, right? I also think this is something I've been thinking about too, just especially having been in a relationship that wasn't good and struggling with low self-esteem at a point in my own life. I also was thinking about like how often people would like beat me to death with you deserve better and all of that. And for me, I don't know, I can't speak for Brittany, but I'm just going off of how I felt. That actually made it worse because it made me feel even shittier that like I didn't believe the words being said to me. That I like, it didn't help. It just made me feel like even more of a fucked up mess.
Yeah, so, now you're like, now I have to also be self-conscious about the fact that all my friends think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Like, I'm still staying, by the way. So
Right.
That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Okay.
Oh, hold on. As they're packing, I just want to say that I absolutely fucking love Kristen putting one shoe in one bag and one shoe in another. Fucking loved it. I am like, that is harmless and chaotic, and I fucking love it.
So Kristen.
I hope Jax was losing his mind at these 30 trash bags he had to figure out. I love it.
I know. And that's part of it is when we get to the Brits bar later too, it's like they're doing all of these things to make him mad. And while it is funny, it's also dangerous at this point.
Yeah.
And I do like, while I love the idea that he probably was so pissed unloading all of that, like, do you know who's going to get blamed?
Yeah.
Not Kristen.
Yeah. That's true.
So anyway,
God, way to
and she
take
keeps,
the moment from me. Like, I was so happy about that. Now I'm like,
yeah,
they shouldn't have done it.
that's what I do. I ruin everything for you.
I know.
Yeah. So she's getting sentimental too, like Brittany is, about all the things. And while I do understand this, at the same time, I'm like, after everything, girlfriend, you're the number one guy in the group. Sweater is bringing you sentimental feelings. Well, he was wearing that while he berated you and called you an alcoholic at the end of last season.
Yeah, but you know what? You're not in her head. And you don't know that she's crying, thinking, God, I'm going to miss him. You don't know that she's not like crying over, like, how did I let it get this far? How did I,
Yeah.
like, we don't know, So I'm going to choose to believe that
That's so
that's the
true.
tears. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and but she does say later, we'll get to it because we're 45 minutes into our recap alone, so let's move along.
Okay, one
Um,
more thing on the packing up. When Janet picks up that thing and says to Zach, do
oh,
you put your wiener in this? Okay, here's my question. Zach, what do you put your wiener in? Because your answer was, I don't put my wiener in things that are warm.
ew, that's what he said.
That's what he said. I don't put my wiener in things that are warm. So what cold thing are you putting your wiener in? Isn't that odd?
All right, Zach, you'll have to come on the podcast and tell us.
Obviously.
Okay, so that is odd. And also, I would not have known that those. Why wouldn't you just put your sunglasses on the side of the bed or your glasses? I mean, but I don't have glasses, so maybe I don't
That's
know anything.
that's what he's spending his money on. Dumb shit.
No, no, there's no way. It's his tens of thousands of dollars are not going to glasses holders.
I hope not.
Yeah. Okay, so next we get to Britt at the divorce lawyer.
Another tragic outfit choice, but go ahead.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, she needs a stylist.
I
Yeah,
know.
I know. I completely agree with you there. Kristen wearing a crop top t-shirt, I can like let go because I think that she's just like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Brittany tries and still looks like that. That's what I think is hard. And I'm sorry, I know that's mean.
Now, well, look, I don't think Brittany is nearly as like overweight or big as people want to make it out to be. I really don't. I don't think she's that, but she dresses in a way that just makes your eyes focus on it.
Yeah, I know.
I hate it.
And this like speaks to a larger conversation that we don't need to get into, but about how like fat phobic our culture is. Like, I think like my mom always talk shit about people at the grocery store and stuff who are like wearing shorts, but their cellulite is like hanging out and stuff like that, or like their belly hangs out. And I'm like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
If they want to wear that, that's fine. Let them wear that. Brittany has the resources and the people around her to tell her, girlfriend, love ya. You don't look good in that. And if I was Brittany, I would want people to tell me, girlfriend, I love you, but you're going to get bad comments if you wear that outfit. I'm just telling you.
On national television. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, if I'm taking photos, I expect my loved ones to tell me that's not the one you want to be wearing for this photo.
Yeah, I think it's like it's less about her body and more about just like style. And she just like has really bad, really cheap looking style. She looks cheap and she looks like she's from the freaking country trying to live in LA. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're at Britt's divorce lawyer, and Britt says everything out loud, and it seems like it starts to hit her as she's like saying it all at one time. That he was $1.2 million behind on his taxes when they got married.
Yep.
As he's doing lines of coke at his wedding.
Yep.
That the mortgage went from $8,000 to $17,000 a month. But he handled all of that. Like, to his credit, like the mortgage was his responsibility until he stopped paying it, and he paid the whole mortgage. So he did have that going for him. She just she shows her some of the texts that he's been sending. The lawyer is like, wow, he's obsessed. Wow, this is not good. Wow, this is not normal. You should file as soon as possible. This is not a good situation. And she files.
Yeah. And she doesn't cry.
And she says she feels relief.
Right. And the lawyer tells her, like, if you're not crying, like, it's just further proof that that this is the right choice and you're done.
Yeah. And she does say that she's scared, and you can see that. Like, I think that this was just so, so, so hard for her.
Yeah. I also think there's something to the fact that you have to look at where she was raised and the values that you, and I think like because
Her
she
mom's
saw,
been divorced a bunch of times, but the values, sure.
well, what I'm, and that's another thing I mean is like sometimes seeing that it can go one of two ways. You end up doing the same thing, married, divorced, married, divorced, married, divorced, or sometimes it makes you just fucking adamant that
Yeah.
you are going to work it out with you're not going to throw in the towel as easily as you watched your mom do 100 times. Like I'm
Yeah.
going to, you know what I mean? Like,
Right, right.
so I feel for her. I think she did everything she could, you know,
Oh
and that's
yeah.
another thing is you get to walk away knowing you did everything you could. And that's a good feeling.
100%.
I like
Yeah.
when you get to be like, I have exhausted this.
Yeah.
It couldn't work.
Yeah, like she believed in him up until the moment she filed for divorce that he might change.
Yes.
She did.
Yes.
So then we get to Brit's bar. They
Yeah.
redo Jax's to be Brit's bar, and I remembered about that thing that went around on Reddit and stuff that she was going to open a place called Brit's Bar in WeHo near Sur. Do you remember
Yes.
that?
Yes. And
Was
there's
that
a,
real?
yes, it was. And they do a deep dive on what happened on the after show.
Oh,
And I will tell you that you'll have to watch the after show, but
okay.
there is like, it sounds like Jax figured out a way that he would be 30%. And when Brittany, who was with Zach, when she met with the owners of Rocco's that were going to work all this out and made clear that she would not partner with Jax, then suddenly there were issues and they sold the place. And so, yeah, that was all
Controlling.
real. But yeah.
He can't help himself. Okay, so
And
yeah,
she
so the
gets nothing from Jax. Like all the money she's invested, the things that she's done for that, like she's getting nothing.
yeah. And they still keep supporting it. I'm like, stop going there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so for everybody listening that maybe didn't watch, they redid Jax's bar with Brits. They have like a big sign that they hang, and they have a sign that looks just like Jax's bar sign, but it says Brits, and they put little pictures of her on all the pictures of him. And ew, I didn't know there were pictures of him everywhere. That's terrifying.
That sounds about right. That sounds so about right.
Yeah, he's such a narcissist. And so, yeah, and so it's, all of the friends are there to support her. This is basically like a divorce party, kind of like
Yeah.
we're one last hoorah before he gets back tomorrow, I think,
Yeah.
or the next day. And so, first of all, the boys, Jason and Jesse, there's so many J's. Jason and Jesse are talking. And Jason is like, I think he's going to think it's funny, but blah, blah, blah. And Jesse's like, there's no way he's going to think it's funny.
Yeah.
And he's right. There is no way he's going to think it's funny. It is going to piss him off.
Yeah.
Because it's not about him,
And it does piss him off. We find out in the after show he started rage texting Schwartz because he saw a picture on Instagram and he was sure that he saw Schwartz's leg and shoe. And so then he started like freaking out on Schwartz. Schwartz was out of town. He was not even there. And yeah, all that comes out on the after show.
Oh my God, juicy. Okay. So just reading my notes here.
And this is where Michelle talks again about, with what's going on with me. Here's what I didn't like. This is the sentence that did it. Like it's weird. It's like I'm with her and then she says one thing and I'm like, there you go, lost it. It's when she says, I'm going through the same thing.
Right.
Maybe even worse.
Yeah.
Or if not worse. And it's right then that I'm like, done. Yeah. This is not a competition. You do not need to say. Brittany is also good at like, I think she tells people what she needs. I'm going through the hardest time of my life.
Right.
Like I need, I don't see Michelle like doing that as much. Also, Michelle isn't making all the right choices either. She doesn't look like a victim. I don't like, her talking to her kid about her marrying Aaron and like, so you almost see them as like a toxic couple, whereas with Jax and Brittany, it's very easy to see the victim abuser dynamic.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that it doesn't appear to you that Michelle is a victim of domestic abuse the same way that Brittany is.
Right. And she may be, and we just haven't seen enough evidence of it.
There might be stuff that we don't know.
Right.
But as an audience member, like, if there's stuff we don't know, that's not our fault.
Correct.
Based off of what we've seen, these are not the same situations.
Right. And based on what we've seen them do around their friends, it's like you've both acted kind of toxic together.
Yeah. Yeah, they do act very toxic together. And yeah, and like you said, Michelle isn't asking for help.
Right.
She's saying it privately, but not really like to her friends. It doesn't seem like.
Right.
So yeah, then we get into the conversation with Kristen wanting to talk to Janet, and then Danny, like this whole kind of combobulation of situations. So
is this where Danny Darko comes out?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a theory, so let me know when you're ready.
All right. So first Kristen talks to Janet and they seem fine.
Yeah.
But Kristen's like just trying to clear the air again. And you're like, go off, girl. So I probably just tapped that. So, yeah. So then Danny's like inserting himself into the conversation and Nia's getting pissed off. At this point, we know Danny's had a beer and a shot, apparently. Like, that's all he's had, I think. And somebody even says that, like, he's had a beer and a shot. And later they say he's a lightweight. So we know that he's like it's not like he's binge drinking.
I think he had more than one shot. Like, if you watch it carefully, I think that's kind of what Jesse is alluding to as well. So if you watch that scene a little carefully, I think he's had more than one shot.
Okay. Still, like, this is probably over the course of hours.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just tell you, if it was me.
Yeah.
When I was drinking.
Yeah.
I would have had 5 drinks by then.
I think he is drunk, but I'm going to tell you what I think.
Yeah. I think he's drunk too, but I don't think whatever. Okay. So he doesn't seem like as wasted as everybody is making him out to be. It seems like to me, it seems like he's getting a little drunk and then just gets like really kind of irritated. And then it's hard to get him back to a neutral, like once he's irritated. And so anyway, I'll describe the scene and then you can tell me your thoughts.
Okay.
So Danny keeps trying to insert himself. Nia is like, stop inserting yourself. And he won't. So she gets up and leaves and goes to get a drink at the bar with Kristen. Kristen, being a good friend, is like, hey, do you want to go to the bar? Let's like leave this situation. Let's just let it play out. And takes her away. And Nia's like really upset, but she's like, it's not my job to tell him what to say. I just have to walk away from this right now. And Janet won't stop talking and won't stop talking and won't stop talking about how it's here comes the prod. Danny Darko. Oh, I guess you're drunk. Oh, I guess you've drank too much. Look, he's drinking too much. Look, Danny Darko's coming out. And I swear to God, I would have punched her in the face.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What are your theories?
Okay. So here is my theory on Danny.
Oh, wait. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Because she'll be like, what? She'll like say the thing that is obviously going to make him mad. And then she'll be like, what? I'm just saying what, like.
Yeah. No, she's the problem.
Yeah.
I do not think Danny has a drinking problem. I think Danny could drink like a normal person after a lot of therapy. What I think is that he is a Jekyll and Hyde drinker. And I think that he is constantly trying to be this charismatic, easygoing, happy-go-lucky guy. And he like represses all of these like other feelings, right? Then he drinks and it's like a valve, just like this all gets to come out now. And it's a total Jekyll and Hyde. That's my theory. Am I right? You're the therapist. Tell me.
I think you're totally right.
Yay! I did that without ChatGPT. So proud of myself.
I totally can see that. I think, it seems like you just have to say one thing and all of a sudden, and I've known men especially like that. I guess probably women too, but like I've known people like this where, especially when they're like they're great people. Like I've dated guys like this, like they're good guys otherwise. Like it's not like they have like this huge anger problem or that they're violent or anything like that. But it's like if they're drinking and if you get them in just the wrong mood And if you say just the wrong thing, then suddenly they're pissed off and like they can't be walked back down off the ledge. You just have to take them home.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to start some shit.
Yep.
And the next day, it's like embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, been that person where it's like, I just get in a pissed off mood and there's like nothing you can do whenever I'm drunk. Like there's nothing you can do because I've convinced myself that I'm totally justified in being mad about something.
Yeah.
And I won't let it go.
Yeah.
And I've been blacked out all those times, so I couldn't be for sure, but I'm sure I've fucking done that shit.
Yeah. Well, and I think he drinks until he's like drunk. And then
So
I
do
think
the rest of them.
right. But then I think it's like, it almost like when he drinks that much and he's able to get out all of this and like doesn't have to keep up this facade. He works so fucking hard. I don't even want to say facade because I do think to me, he seems like a good guy. Like I think
so.
You know, but it's like if you never allow yourself to get pissed off in traffic and you're always just like got that big smile and joking around with everybody and I'm sure because he just like his mannerisms, how he walks out of that bar, it is a different person. It is like finally the rage I've held in all day about all these things.
Yeah.
I'm going to let it go.
Yeah. And yeah, I totally see that. And what was I just going to say? Oh, and it reminds me of what I used to talk about, or what I talked about in a previous episode about how like he seems very controlled.
Yeah.
And how I've like treated especially men who are very, very controlled in their public life, who do things secretly to release that control valve. So it can be binge drinking or binge eating or stealing or doing these things that like are bad to like let go of some of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally can see that. And yeah.
And which, you know, what's scary there is it's like, let's just say he's like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to drink anymore. Okay, then what are you going to do to process like all this stuff that you're never letting out? You can't, you know,
he'll find another coping mechanism until he can treat that.
Right.
And it could be stealing or betting or, you know.
Right.
Cheating. I'm not saying he would, but I'm just saying those are like some things that people might do.
Yep.
So Nia takes him out, and I just love Nia because she's standing at the bar with Kristen, and he comes over and he's like, they're saying dark side Danny. And she's like, absolutely not, you know?
Yeah.
And the way that she rides for him, even though she finds him annoying and frustrating.
Yeah. And I love that, like, you can tell she's like, right. She's like, absolutely not. Can I see your phone to call an Uber? Like,
yeah.
We're going to stop it right here. I mean, it's sad that like, because I think he also says he doesn't remember sometimes how he behaves. And I'm sure it's like hard for Nia when she knows how great he is and how awesome. And it's like, I wish that you could see how you are when you drink and realize like there's something else going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just makes me sad for her.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine.
I do too.
Yeah. If anybody on the show is going to be fine, it's the two of them.
Yeah.
For God's sake. Okay, so yeah, and then Janet was just so annoying. Like after he left, even she would not stop talking about it. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, she's got to go.
She does. I can't. When she says like my husband's not the one up in here grabbing ass. When she said it's like you don't have anything else to use against him. So you're going to take that mistake that he's apologized for 3 times now, that you've publicly shamed him for, but you're just going to keep riding on that because you have nothing else. I could not fucking stand her by the end of this. And you're
going to take that one thing, you're going to hang it over his head forever because it gives you power and leverage. And you're going to act like it's a huge character flaw, that it represents something much bigger.
Right. It's bad when you're making me dislike you so much. I don't want you on the show anymore. Because I can really hate a person and still want them on the show.
Yeah, like Jax.
Yes. She gets under my skin in a different way. I'm like, you got to go.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then did you notice who he said bye to when he was walking out though?
No.
Kyle Chan.
Oh, that's right. I did see that. Yeah, I did see that.
If everybody is also 6 degrees from Kyle Chan, I swear.
I read a really nice profile that came out on him and how he got started and how he was able. It was one of the Real Housewives that first like bought some of his cheap jewelry that he was selling, and that was like his doorway in. He's now like, what is that movie? La La Land.
Yeah.
The jewelry that Emma Stone wears in that, those are his designs that he
Aww.
made. Yeah, he's done really well for himself. I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, that's great. Just because he's Sandoval adjacent doesn't mean we have to hate him, right?
He brings that up in the article as well. Like, these are my friends.
Love him or hate him.
Yep.
All right, so then at the very end here, Britt and Jesse talk because he's picking up Jax from rehab the next day.
Yeah.
And Jesse, of course, Jesse is picking him up, and he's worried that this shit is going to hit the fan when Jax finds out what everybody's been doing behind his back.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, he's not
right.
wrong. He's not wrong.
So that's our episode. So I guess next week Jax is back. It said to be continued, so we didn't get a preview. So I expect that probably means that he's back.
Yeah, and you can make a TikTok after you watch, but you gotta go watch the after show. There's a couple moments on there. There is one I want to talk about just because I was so surprised that Jesse said this. And there's a moment where they talk about the cameras, right? And Jax is, of course, trying to say Brittany did the same thing, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I absolutely love that Schwartz would do anything in the entire world to disappear off that stage every time.
I know.
He just wants Yes, he's like looking in different directions. Like, I don't agree with any of this. Please, why am I sitting with them?
But them.
Yeah. So Jax is like, she was watching me, and Brittany says like, we had agreed there would be no girls there, so I did look to see girls like walking down the street, into our house, whatever. And Jesse says to Jax, it sounds like Brittany would sometimes watch to see if you were doing things that you guys had agreed you wouldn't do, whereas you were watching more like because you were stalking her and for control. Jesse says this.
What did he say back?
Oh, no. She did the same thing. She would watch and then it's like he hits a moment where he can't think of the lie quick enough. So he goes, she would watch the cameras to just like nitpick, she would say things like, she would nitpick, she would like look and she would say like, just like nitpick and just like, but I need to clean up my side of the street. I can't be worried about what she does. It doesn't matter. So he's never able to like see the thought through because it's not true.
Yeah. And also like, even though, he says those things like, I need to clean up my side of the street. I need to do my own work. I need to focus on me, blah, blah, blah. But like, we were trying to focus on you. We were just now saying like you were doing it for control, right?
Right.
And then you completely changed the topic and you completely changed the
right. You could have
being blamed.
Right. You could have been accountable in that moment.
Right.
And said, you know what, I was.
That's how you clean up your side of the street, Jax.
Right. Right. So
I was. I know that it's bad that I do those things. I can't stop thinking about it. It runs through my head nonstop. I wish that I could stop. And like, I talked to my therapist about it, and she says it's because I'm insecure. And like, I just need to figure out how to move past these things. Like,
yeah.
There's something that you should be learning in therapy.
Yeah. He knows the therapy phrases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he can like say it. But then it's like, okay, and then the next step is, and he's just like, I don't know why I'm like this. It's so fucking weird. Like, he's exhausting. So go watch the after show.
Exhausting. Actually, we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
We'll talk about the rest next week. Okay, so as a reminder, everyone, we do a politics episode every week as well. We'll be talking about the ICE raids and protests, along with any other current events that happened in the week between our episodes. That'll come out on Saturday. That'll come out on Monday.
Yeah.
And then we'll do our next Valley recap the next week after that. I think that's it. Go to a protest this weekend.
Yes.
Exercise your right to protest in this country, but keep yourself safe and know your rights. And if you're undocumented, stay home. If you're undocumented, know your rights. Not that they're respecting them, but you should still know them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And with that, good luck, everyone. And we'll see you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.